Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. The Walker Family Podcast.
Yeah, welcome, guys. We are on video.
Welcome
Apparently.
to all the fans and haters alike. We love y'all.
I just showered and had a sweaty day, so I got all fresh for you guys.
Yeah, I know. Usually
Working
we're not.
hard. The sweatpants.
Usually we're not on camera,
dressing up.
so this is new.
This is actually dressed up for me. Normally, I am much more dressed down for our podcast.
It's true, and we usually do it in complete darkness. So this is very new to you.
Yeah, the light.
Yeah,
Eh.
I like it. This is our set. So we've been trying to decide on a set for a long, long time, and we got up space rented, and it's just we haven't gotten around to setting it up and like soundproofing it and doing all this stuff that we even made artwork for the place.
I did.
And then we just end up recording here. We're like 20 episodes deep. This is episode number 20.
I just like the blue walls and the flowery kind of brownish couches, and
so we're on episode 20.
It's a vibe.
And it's like we just keep recording from here because we have to come put the kids to bed. They're literally in bed in the other room, and the room just across the hallway. And so it's like just right now it works best for us to just record late at night, and so that's what we're doing. And so we're just recording in our family house in the village in Fiji right now. Yeah.
Okay, so this week you posted a Twitter comment.
Yeah.
Let's just get into that. Let's just start with it because you did a whole hour live.
Should I just read it?
Yes, read some of the comments.
No, I'm not reading the comments.
Oh,
this is not a review of my Twitter comments.
I'm not on Twitter. I will say foolish things on Twitter, so keep me off of Twitter. But I love the comments. I am always like, I am the runner for the comments.
Yeah?
If there's something juicy, I am running to the comments and I can't wait to see what's happening. I even relogged. I made a Twitter account like a few years ago. And just for this episode, I logged into Twitter just so I could read all the retweets. And I don't actually know how Twitter works. I was trying to sort it out, and it is pretty good.
You downloaded Twitter on your phone?
No, I just went on like a Safari
Incognito?
search, and no, I have an account. I just don't use it. I've never posted.
I see.
And I shall never post.
What's your name? Tell everybody your name on there.
Nope. Sneaky.
Okay, so should I read this?
Yes, go right ahead. Okay, number one, John and I have opinions. Doesn't mean that opinion can't change.
Yeah, I'm open to my mind being changed. I love having conversations. That's why I put it up there. So I'm willing to be changed. So I put, in light of the Great Council of Chiefs meeting happening today, today being on this last Wednesday, we read all these nude articles.
All these nude articles. Woo!
Let's not edit that out. That's not what this is about. We read all these news articles saying things like Vunivalu na tui kamba with no other explanation. Like everyone knows what that means. The Itoke culture would be so much more relevant if people, reporters, journalists, social media influencers like us, will go one step further and translate and explain these things in English so we can all, white, brown, yellow, black, etc., understand and respect ourselves and each other. And the cascade happened from there.
Which
cascade? I'm talking about cascade on like a very minimal level. This is not viral as you would think tweets go, but it's engaged It's got, what does it have right now? It's got 62.8 thousand views.
Yeah.
46 quotes.
Good and bad. Yeah. I would say, here's the thing. I would say actually, if I had to guess, most people actually agree. Okay? I had a controversial post a while back. Mm. And what I notice is that most people actually just like it.
Right.
You have a lot of likes on your post.
Likes are quiet, though.
Likes are quiet.
Yeah.
They're passive. And then you get, a handful of strong haters. Mm. And the reason why people don't jump in with you is because they don't want the hate. Yeah. But they appreciate that you said something.
I was talking to somebody yesterday. I was like, you know what? Don't forget, don't forget to them. But I was like, it's funny because the people on Twitter are not your friends.
No.
The people on the internet are not your close circle of they're not in your sphere of influence personally.
Okay, sorry. We have to interrupt this program to say Harley ripped a fart outside and it reeks. Do not do a podcast at your house. Ugh. So bad.
Harley,
Okay, dude. Oh,
Oh, that's really bad, actually. Eh?
it's like
Sheesh.
another level. We're trying to talk serious talk here, and it's woo,
Man,
it's
that's
nasty.
so
It's like
bad.
driving in my childhood car, and they pull out like those egg sandwiches that
Oh,
have been
yeah.
sitting in the heat for
Smell
like
like an egg
5 hours,
sandwich.
and you're like, ugh.
That's really
And
bad.
mom's like, here, eat one of these. And I'm like,
Really bad.
ugh.
So what I was trying to say in that tweet was like, it wasn't. I wasn't trying to say like, um, everything has to be translated into into English all the time.
No.
Like even like within our culture, and because and what I'm saying is that that doesn't need to be done all the time if people are all understanding.
Yeah.
Like if you don't want people to if we don't want people to understand our culture, then it's good. But like if we don't go out of our way to explain why we do the things we do and build that value, then we can find it valuable, but we cannot expect other people to find it valuable or to even know what to find valuable because like they never had a baseline for understanding.
Well,
So I was just like kind of just saying like, oh, I just wish like news reporters and people alike, journalists, could just and there are some out there. There are some of you out there who are really good at journalism, and you guys do a good job because I did actually read other news articles after I was talking, and actually before I put that up I was like, it's not everybody, and it wasn't. There were certain news websites that did like explain what they were talking about,
yeah.
like not necessarily titles, because titles can't always be directly translated to English per word, but just like a bit more depth would just bring a lot more relevance for everybody. And it's not talking about like the culture is irrelevant. I'm saying like it makes the culture like it makes it more. It doesn't affect like the cultural like all cultures are equally as important, I think.
But
But like the relevance changes depending on how much they have explained themselves to the world.
well, and also you have to look at Fiji, just like most other countries now. It is a multicultural country.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are only speaking in Bowen or whatever dialect that they're using, I'm assuming it's Bowen,
Yeah.
is that you are leaving out a possible 40% of your population.
Mm.
I don't know if the majority of the Indo-Fijian community speaks Fijian.
Some do.
Some do,
Yeah.
but fluently enough. Well, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have another quarter of your population that is like a mix of, Westerners, Chinese people, Korean people, different ethnicities that come into the country.
Yeah.
And so you're leaving out citizens in your country out of an actual. This is not politics, but that is influence within your country.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't know what's going on. And there is a lack of respect for what's going on because they're ignorant to it. So explain it to them. Involve them.
Yeah, like there's just like weird like balance between, because I hear a lot. There's a lot of people who are saying like, well, if you want to know it, then learn it, and if you want to, but then there was a couple people who were like, well, if you want to learn it, if you want to learn the culture, then you have to learn the language, and I get it. Like if you really want to learn the culture at depth, like definitely learning the language helps. But it's kind of like this never-ending circle because you can even know how to speak Fijian, but if you don't know like, there's so much you miss out on because
let's say your Fijian is basic.
Yeah.
It's decent, but it's basic, right?
Yeah.
That's what we could agree on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talented at language. It's not a skill that I have. It would take me minimum probably 5 years of learning the language to get to where you are. Okay?
Okay.
So within the depth of the council and what they're speaking about, I'm pretty sure they're using language and like conversation that's beyond you in some places. Is that right?
Dude, I talked to Fijian to like people who were born and raised here and actually know a lot about the culture. And I was asking them questions about, like like things that we talk about all the time when it comes to like protocols and stuff. And it was like, it's hard to explain it in English.
Yeah.
But like when you do put the work in, it's like, oh, that like becomes like when I explain it to you, like what some like protocol is in Fijian, if I can like put that into words, it's like, wow, that actually means something now. It's not just a bunch of like, it's valuable because like you see it happening, but like once you understand it, it's like it impacts you personally. It's the
Yeah.
same thing like I was talking to a guy who used to be like the MC, I guess he called himself, for like a dance group in Denaro, which is where there's a bunch of like there's like a row of like 5-star hotels in Fiji. And he said that he, before each dance or before they sang a song or something like that, his role was to like explain to the people, like to the tourists who were there, like what each song meant or like what this dance meant and when it would be performed at what point, to like
Yep.
whether and during what ceremonies or in wartime and stuff like that. And like people would start crying because once they understood like what like the song like Isolé meant, like simple things like that. Like
What does Isolé mean?
like well the
Sorry.
song is talking like it's like goodbye, but it's more like until next time. That's kind of like the overall theme of the song. Like it's
Okay.
like see you, we'll see you again. And like
It just
it's always
gives more
customized. The
context.
song is always customized to like the place where you're farewelling them from.
Yeah. Well, and I find, like, let's say coming into the culture, okay? A lot of it, because you're unfamiliar with culture, any culture you go into, when it's not your own, you're not familiar with it, and you're always going like, why do we do this? Like, you're slightly irritated because it's so different from what you expect life to be like. So when you can give people, like, context and depth into a culture and say like, okay, it resonates with you because of this, and like this is why, because people want to accept you, or they want to love you, or they want to be able to forgive you, if you can kind of, or it's rude to them, if you can give them kind of some cultural context, people are more ready to accept it. But when you just tell people don't do that, don't do this, people are like, they have their guard up, they don't understand, and they don't really want to understand. Like, their walls are up. So I think in all context of like culture and change, if you can explain the why in it and what's happening, people are like, oh, that's beautiful, that actually makes sense to me, I could totally
Well,
embrace
that's
it.
like that's with everything in life, like in school,
Yeah.
in work. Like if there's a why, it's like, oh, like that's the first question you ask as a kid, and it's for a reason.
Yeah.
Go do this. Why? It's like as a parent, you're
Yeah.
like, don't ask me why, just go do it.
Yeah.
But like that's also like, yeah, your kids you do say that sometimes because your kids just need to learn to listen, so that if you're like, get off the street, they don't ask like why, get destroyed by a vehicle.
Yeah.
It's like you do need to just listen.
Yeah.
But like they ask why because like they're wondering like, okay, what's the logic behind this? That's
Yeah.
our default, right?
Like, I had a nice conversation with a couple that came into the coffee shop maybe a month ago now, and they were visiting his village. And I asked him, like, okay, have you shared with her kind of the expectations going into the village? Have you shared with her, told her about kind of the protocol or what she should expect? And he was like, yeah. And then I was like, okay, what did you tell her? And he was like, she'll just like sort it out. Like, it's very like Fiji, like classic, like, she'll just feel it out. And I was like, oh, no. I was like, wait, let me just give you like a rundown. Because it's what happened to me, I felt like. And it was a lot
Even
harder.
though it wasn't what happened to you.
It was what happened to me. We'll have a disagreement about this. But
Okay.
you said, follow my dad and do what my dad does.
Yeah, but like there was a lot of things that were told to you before you came that you knew about, like dress code and
Okay.
like
Dress code, yeah.
walking around, like chilo, stuff like that.
I
Yeah.
think I heard about Chilo, but
Yeah.
you guys didn't walk me through what that looked like. I didn't know there'd be crawling. I didn't know that I shouldn't wear my shoes on the veranda. I didn't know a lot of things. And I just felt like with this
I
couple,
may not listen though either.
wow, someone's bitter. This is your culture that you brought your Western wife into.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
And I cried every day for a month. So I would say that speaks louder than your opinion of did you tell me. It was a rough month. It was a hard visit for me.
It's
It-
different for everybody.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was just, for me, I felt like it was so difficult when I came. And so when I hear that about women going in, I'm like, dude, you need to be a little bit prepared so you don't panic about screwing up so much. It's not so much that the rules are hard. It's actually hard that you're disappointing people constantly. And then I was telling her, okay, also your husband was going to do this. He's going to say, don't do that. And you're going to have to just listen. And then he needs to explain why after you are allowed to ask why, but you need to let it rest for like 30 minutes at least. Because he's probably telling you, don't do this because you're being rude, not because of any other thing. But there's a lot of like, hey, don't do that because you're being rude. Because there's small nuances in the culture that you do all the opposites of. And so your husband's just trying to not make you be so offensive to everybody. So you're going to just have to be like, okay, I won't do that. And then later be like, okay, what happened? And your husband has to be gracious enough to explain to you what happened and why, so you don't continue to do those things, because it's really difficult to hear, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, stop doing that, what are you doing? And you're just like, actually I might just go into a dark room and never come out, because it's hard to live in disappointment. It's hard to live in like, you're screwing up every second. It's difficult. So you need that cultural education to actually feel like you can breathe and that you're not offending everybody every single step you take. And I see that with our friends that come here. Like, I see now their faux pas. You know? I cringe at them. And then I go, oh, yeah, I can see why people were like, stop doing that. Stop doing that. We also just let them have some grace. Yeah. You know? They're allowed to mess up. They don't know any better. And they actually won't enjoy the experience if they're not allowed to enjoy, you know? Like, they have to be so worried about what they're doing. Anyway, let's bring it back to our original topic.
Which was?
Your tweet.
Oh, yeah. No, so that's all dead now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I let it die. No more responses on my end. I'm over it.
Wait. This is my favorite one. Someone said that you should take your white privilege.
Yeah.
And that you should just... What? Can't remember what they said. Something about white privilege anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, John, like, are you not going to defend yourself on the fact that, like, you are Fijian, that your father's Fijian, you were born here? Does that not make you want to be like...
No, because, like, when people, like I was telling Tui today, our content manager, it's like, when people can't make excuses, then they'll just start telling lies. And I think I see that constantly all the time, especially on Twitter. Like, people will just start calling people names, and they'll be like, your privilege is showing. It's like, what privilege? The privilege of, like, moving out of my house when I was, 17, working from the age when I was 14, and putting myself through school, and then getting married when I was 19, and, like, struggle. You know, like, I mean...
Hey, wait, that was a privilege.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I don't know. Like,
Hey.
yeah, I consider myself to be, like, fortunate. And, like, we all have, my life could have taken a completely different route, too. I opted out of lots of things. I never went to a single high school party ever. Because I knew, like, you know, like, there's things that I didn't do that because I knew that it wasn't worth it, you know? And so, also, like, I also know who I am. Like, I don't need other people to tell me about, you know, I don't need other people's affirmations. And even if people don't know that I am half Fijian, and even, like, in Fijian culture, the more important part of my half is Fijian, my father's side. It's a patriarchal society. So because my father's Fijian, I'm actually from here. Like, I am registered here in my clan, and my sons are going to be registered here in our clan. Like, it all, like, you know, because of my father. And so when people can't make excuses, they don't have good arguments, they just start calling names. They just start calling, like, telling lies. They just say you're white. They're just like, and it's like, dude, like, come up with a better argument. Like is that, like, at that point, like, where I saw, like, the threads going, I'm like, ugh, this is boring now. Like, there's no more, like, good conversation happening. Like, once it, like, because the first ones were, like, kind of, you know, in, like, there was actually, like, some, like, pushback, but, like, some actual, like, from, like, salt. This one guy is salty captain. I can't remember what his name is, but it was like some like actual like
It's a funny
sort of like good like pushback, and I was like, oh, this is response worthy. Like this is actually a good conversation. It's not an
Yeah.
argument. It's like my idea versus your idea. Best idea wins.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that's kind of enjoyable, I
Mhm.
think. Like, it's not offensive in any way.
No, not at all.
So do you think through this whole experience, like, do you ever find, I find, like moving here, that it's, when you comment, like you can show people the beauty of things in Fiji, but it's difficult to have an opinion. And me and you knew this going into kind of the next phase of what we want to do. Having an opinion would get a lot of pushback. Do you ever find that difficult, or it's not a big deal to you?
What's this?
Getting pushback for having an opinion instead of just showcasing Fiji or your life and
Like everybody who's relevant in the world, or people whose opinions, or people who like people who people who are relevant in the world, like have opinions. Like my grandfather here, my dad's dad, he was relevant in this community because he was a man who was like really, really opinionated, and he'd beat the crap out of people if they did something that was like culturally like really, really inappropriate.
yeah.
You know? Or he would throw their protocols back in their face, you know? He was very well known amongst the Fijian and Indian community because he took a stand for what he thought was right and what was wrong, right? And like you'd look at, you know, if it's the freaking Elon Musks, or if it's like the Andrew Tates, or whoever you want to pick, the Tucker Carlsons or whatever. Like all these people are famous, Joe Rogan, because they have an opinion. Like,
Yeah.
and they are able to formulate an argument in a well thought out way, and they have conversations about it. You know, that's what, like, I mean, so I feel like the next step is to have an opinion, and
Yeah.
but like, I won't share my opinion on everything because I just don't think it's worth it sometimes. I was just simply saying like, hey, I feel like there's a lot of lazy journalists who just like say things and they don't go the extra step. And I think
Yeah.
people will start to see like, maybe I'll start a freaking journalism company one day, or a news company, and then I'll make all of our journalists go the extra mile and explain everything for everybody. And then people will actually like be able to relate more, and then we'll just take over. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Everything can improve.
Just take it one step further. Like you can say it in whatever language, but like say the word girmit. Like I didn't know what girmit meant. Like I just you know. So I went out for dinner at one of my uncles, who is a Indo-Fijian Muslim guy, and we were talking about girmit because it's right before girmit day.
Yeah, okay.
And he was like,
wait,
"Did you know
wait, explain that a little bit more for everybody that doesn't know what
what?"
Government Day.
Yeah, that's
like,
where
it's
I'm
a
going.
holiday?
That's-
No, but is it a holiday?
Yeah, it's like, well, it was a public holiday that was annexed or whatever you want to call it by the last government. It was
okay.
brought back by this new government.
Okay, there you go.
That and what's the other day? What was the other day that they brought back again? Ratuskuna Day. Yeah, Ratuskuna Day and Girmit Day. The Girmit people are people that were brought from India, indentured laborers, to Fiji. The agreement was
Oh, this is what's all been over Facebook.
the
Is that
agreement
right?
was that the agreement they signed was that you come, you work, you make some sort of a small wage, and then you get sent back. The agreement, girmit. That girmit comes from agreement. If you say it like a British person, apparently, it's girmit, or like it gets close.
Yeah.
And so the people who came from India, I was told by a Indo-Fijian man in history that the reason that it's girmit is because Indians from India couldn't say the word agreement, and it just came out girmit. Hence, girmit people and girmit day.
Oh.
That means like when that's explained to me, I'm like, dude, I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
That's like, okay, that makes like that's cool. That makes sense now. That's just something I didn't know, and it's just like it didn't have to be explained to me. It doesn't make their culture more or less important, but it makes it more relevant to me
Yeah.
because now I remember it. And now I can relate with like, that's actually pretty cool. It's pretty funny that there's a whole day and a whole people group named after like like a word that they like said that they couldn't say, the whole like the way that the English language has it.
Yeah.
It's like, that's cool. I like that. That's really neat. I won't forget
That's
about
great.
that.
I love it.
So that's what I mean. I mean, it doesn't make them any more or less relevant, but it makes,
Yeah, relevant to an individual.
yeah, to people outside of themselves,
Yeah.
whether you care
yeah.
about that or not.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think sharing our traditions and sharing our cultural practices and, even what our parents teach us,
Mm.
this is so valuable,
Mm-hmm.
and life lessons that we've had from generations passed down.
Yeah.
Like, I think even coming here, like, this week, I won't name names and talk about specifics, and men, close your ears, but someone I know went home from work because they had menstrual cramps and they were in so much pain that they couldn't work. And I was asking them, okay, so did you take Panadol or some painkillers of some sort? And they were like, I had no idea that was possible or that was an option. I just knew that I was in agony for years. And I was like, what? Wait. Like, this is something that I've been taught by my mom and, different women in my life, that, like, this is just something that you need to do. If you're a certain specific women have to do that to get through the day because they're in so much pain. I'm one of those people, and it's not a bad thing. And I just thought, oh, it's interesting how, like, no one's ever suggested that to you. It's just
Nobody
like,
ever told me.
yeah. Yeah, when you have your period, you're so annoying and cranky and in pain. It's like,
You guys
can you
didn't know
just-
this, but
I think biblically, in the Old Testament, they said women, leave the city for how many days?
I agree with that.
It's a holiday.
There's
It's
a
like,
reason for that.
hell yeah.
There was a reason for women to leave the city while they had their period.
Yeah, don't tear down your houses.
Exactly.
Go have a break. Go to the spa for a week and enjoy. Can we
Yeah.
implement this, please?
That's not what it looked like, but okay.
Oh.
I think it added to the story.
I need a spa day for a week once a month, honey.
Right.
I'm in. Let's do this.
That's
Okay.
not what happens.
New biblical practices.
Right. Right. So you did your first customer service training this week?
Yeah, that's
How was
good.
that?
It's great. It's great. We were talking to everybody about communication. I think that's probably the biggest issue in any business all over the world, is how to communicate properly with each other. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you cannot communicate, you will fail.
Yeah, and I think unrelated to that particular session, like one thing that I've noticed is that, like, dude, it all comes down to leadership. And like so many things in, like we always talk about ownership, like everything it seems to stem back to like the owner or the leader of the pack.
And
like we're part of like programs where there's, leaders who are just like really like wing it.
Yeah.
Like they just like fly by the seat of their pants.
Yeah.
And like they just I'll figure out that thing when we get to that thing. And then they get there and they do it and they do a good job of it. But like people notice that like
they wing it.
They wing it. Like that's like I wish there's more structure to the way that they did this thing. But it's just like he's just the guy who wings it. And he's really successful because he's good at winging it.
Yeah.
But eventually it can get you into a bind because just like, when that just ends up being like the kind of the way that whole company and all like the companies under that play out. Or
that's personality.
Yeah. And that influence runs throughout a company.
Yeah.
And so like if you have bad communication as an owner, like, or as a manager, like, why would your team have good communication?
Yeah. Well, and I think like it can be a slap in the face, even to us. Like, I go into the coffee shop that we own, and there's a lot of miscommunication. And you always think like, okay, how do I fix this? Because it's my fault. but what am I doing wrong? And it's very
It's
difficult.
actually John's fault.
Yeah. Well, you know, if we're talking about it, you have to think about it in your own perspective.
Right.
So if we're talking and saying, this is a problem, how do I fix this? It's really difficult.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're like, I want to fix this. I'm trying to fix this. I'm trying to give advice to fix it. And it's not fixing. And so sometimes you're just stumped as an owner. And I think like you want to do a good job. You want to teach people something. And sometimes you're just at a loss. And I think even for us, like, I think seeking out possible businesses or people within your area that are doing things well might be something that would help. I think me and you have a decent handle on cultural context. And I see so many businesses in Fiji. This is how they run. When their employee screws up, they don't communicate, they make problems or faux pas, then they get docked on their pay. How do you feel about that?
I'd say, I've never worked for a company that does that.
Me neither.
I see why companies do that. I don't know if it's even legal. We don't do that.
No.
I can see why it's done, though.
Like, yeah.
I'd rather have a system that rewards people for doing good than just punishes them for doing bad.
Yeah.
But I see why people do that.
Yeah. I think the longer we're here, I see why people do that. I think it's just difficult to be like, I want to own a business and I also want to love on people. And so how do those two things go hand in hand when they have minor screw ups and you're like, okay, now you're punished again financially. And thank you for being here. All at the same time.
Like, that's not
it
going to
seems
motivate
like,
anybody.
What?
Yeah.
Seems painful. Yeah. So I think it's just interesting doing, training for people for customer service, It's been an interesting experience because you can see when you're doing the training, you're like, okay, the staff need work.
Yeah.
But typically, John and I know it's not mostly the staff, it's who's in charge that needs the most work. Because we realize we need more work. Ourselves. And when we're frustrated with something or our business is lacking in something, it's us.
Yeah.
Our staff are failing, but it's because we're allowing them to fail and we haven't given them the tools to be successful. And so it is really difficult because you always have to kind of look back at yourself and go, what am I missing? And it's a really hard thing because a lot of the time, actually I would say like 90% of the time, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm missing. I'm working on it. I'm asking people. I'm trying to sort that out, but I am missing something. So it's just slowly putting those pieces of the puzzle together. Yeah, it's hard. But anyway.
I got a video to show you.
Well, while you're loading that, this video,
ready.
Yeah, come on. It's brought to you by Fresh Tea and Coffee. That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
We're in between Savu and Lumbasa. And guys, tomorrow we're putting up our first highway sign.
Oh, yeah.
So it's only from the direction of Savu. We don't have enough money to put up the next one or the permits. But we've got one sign coming to you tomorrow. And I'm proud to say that we designed it on our laptop together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great. I think it looks great. I'm stoked about it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys will have an easier time finding us. I know a lot of people were lost. But anyway, what slices of pizza, strong coffee that will hit you hard, keep you going all day. Hit us up. Customer service training. We've done a lot of it. So I hope no matter what, that is what you were impressed with.
Yeah.
Because I would say, as many struggles we have in our team, they crush the customer service.
Oh, yeah.
They even make me feel warm and fuzzy when I come into my shop.
That's so true.
I'm like, guys, stop it. Stop it. Disgusting. You make me smile way too much. My face hurts. Funny. Okay, show me the video.
Okay, here we go. What do you think of this?
They did an experiment with a group of women, and they put scars on their faces, and they told these women that they're going into a job interview, and the purpose of the experiment is to find out whether people with facial disfigurements face discrimination. They showed them the scars in the mirror. The women saw themselves with these scars, and as they led them out of the room, they said, we're just going to touch it up a little bit. And as they touched it up, they removed the scarring completely. So the women went into the job interview thinking that they are scarred, but actually being their normal selves.
Oh,
and
rude.
the result of the experiment is that those women then came back reporting massively increased level of discrimination. Indeed, many of them came back with comments that the interviewer had made that they felt were referencing their facial disfigurement. And this is why I think this ideology of victimhood is so dangerous.
Yeah.
Because if you preach to people constantly that we're all oppressed, then that primes people to look for that. They did an experiment with a group of women.
Ah.
Huh?
Yeah, this is like it's a brutal video for me. Yeah. I think it's on point. I think it's very on point.
Yeah.
I think I've worked in enough.
Not to rehash what we were talking about earlier.
I've worked in enough restaurant settings that only hired good-looking women. And I've heard my managers turn away women that they were like, ugh, that one's a trogdor. Don't even bother interviewing them.
Right.
So you know, as a woman, that's a real thing. And going into an interview with a scar on your face, I could feel like they're like self-consciousness, but that's been put on
It's
them.
just interesting that like if people are like knowledgeable or like made something that they should feel victimized about
Yeah.
is like brought to their attention, whatever that is. You're black, you're white, you have a scar on your face,
Yeah.
you have tattoos, you know, you look like you should buy better clothes, you know,
Yeah.
like all of these things, and like thinking these things or like just being made aware of them makes you see other people's whatever they're saying through a different light.
Well,
Like you just feel oppressed when
your
nothing
lens
happens.
is different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely see that. I think it's like when you view yourself in a certain way, then you will always see that other person seeing you that way. You can't help it because that's how you view yourself. Like when I feel chubby and Tui's taking pictures of me and then he makes my neck look bad and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? I'm going to murder you. This is all I see because
Right.
I'm thinking like, I used to be skinnier. You know, if you see that, then you'll always see that.
Yeah.
We can't help it. And it's something that like it just depends on how you're viewing yourself in that moment. Because sometimes I have a lot of, I don't know, maybe I'm very arrogant as a person or I have a lot of confidence. I've always viewed myself as like a reasonably decent looking person. I don't walk around going like, oh, I'm gross. But I will have a few moments where I'm like, you know, kids, all those kind of things. It's been a little bit of a road, and I'll go, okay, it's not what it used to be. It's fine. But then, if you're thinking like that and you see a photo that's not your best photo, it's a hard reality, right? And then I think people that have like maybe they have confidence going through life, and they've heard
Everybody
these things.
has a bad angle though.
Everybody has a bad angle for sure.
And the bad angle is the one that's taken from down here. If somebody ever holds a camera and they take it from like, if they're holding it like at their chest with the camera like pointed up, guarantee you that's a
I
bad
had
angle.
someone do that to me the other day.
I had somebody do that today.
I was in town and a bunch of girls.
Did you see that today?
We want to take
We were
photos
taking
with
pictures,
you.
and that guy was taking. You took a picture on our camera, and then they took a picture, or that guy took a picture of them with us, and I was like, "This is a bad angle." He was like holding it like this, like below his chest, like pointed up, and he was like,
I thought that was a man trait. I did. Like you always do that. Like when you take pictures of me, you lower it because you're short, and I'm like, don't do that, please. And then that's such like a. I always thought
"I don't
that
say
was
you're
such
short. I say you're a shorty."
Yeah, okay. Well, I always thought like it was a dude thing. And then the other day I was taking these photos with a bunch of girls wanting to take a picture. And she angled it. She was like this short lady and she like brought it down to her waist. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have like 5 chins by the time this photo shoot is done. I'm like, okay.
It's a lot of chins.
Can't wait to see this photo.
It's a lot of chins.
Was what it felt like. I'm like, I gotta look at the floor. I'm like, okay, all right, just hope for the best. Please don't post it.
Extend neck. Extend neck.
I need those lessons that like celebrities take to like You know, they like go on the runway and they take their best photos. I'm like, I don't have that. I have no
Fiji
idea.
Fashion Week's coming up, yeah?
I know. I wish I was going.
Oh my gosh, I
do.
do not.
I know. You would die 1,000 deaths, and I would love it. I think it'd be great. I love clothes.
Why?
Because I miss that kind of thing. Like something like fun, something sexy.
What do you know about Fiji Fashion Week that says it'd be fun?
It's a vibe. It's going to be, everybody's having fun, sitting around, talking, girl talk, da 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 da. It's going to be great.
Gosh.
And you would hate every second of it. And I'd be like, la 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 la. Okay, this is great. Wear my high heels. We're going to wear my high heels in Limbasa. I'm going to break my ankle. My foot's going to go into the crevice of the world.
Fishing.
I wore high heels one time in Fiji, and I almost died. And I'm pretty experienced in high heels. I used to work in them 12 hours a day. Walking on these sidewalks. That was never again.
What happens in Fiji Fashion Week? Have you ever been to like? No.
It's a fashion week. Obviously,
I'm not asking Tui like because he's like very interested in fashion or whatever. I just didn't know if it's like a big thing in Suva. Like lots of people go to it. Is it always in Suva? I would assume.
Okay, number one, obviously, I've never even looked it up. Fashion designers bring their clothes and they do runway shows. And then they have after parties, which are probably pretty sick, and everybody dances and has fun and then wears their best clothes with high heels.
You're saying that's what happens?
That's what fashion is about.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's about looking at clothes.
Sounds like a lot of drugs and alcohol.
Having a nice wine, looking your best, and taking photos. Moving on.
Not my scene.
That's fine. You take photos all day.
I don't think it's your scene
vain
either.
enough. It's my scene for a week. I look like this right now. I could do for some makeover. Like, come on.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Some sweatpants, some old faded Waka shirt. My hair needs to be dyed this week. It's just a deep dive.
You should go to the Fiji Interior Design Week. Yeah.
No, I've embraced the blue.
Yeah?
It's not even, I don't know what color we're called. I'm going to call it
There's a lot of blue in this house, huh?
aqua blue.
Holy
it's just
smokes.
like, it's like the outside is a limeish green and the inside's aqua blue.
What made you make that post about Aliki today?
He wanted to take a picture with me this morning.
Oh,
Actually, Aliki planned a photo shoot with Sevenaya, me and Aliki
When was this?
last night.
Oh.
And then he told me, in the morning, Mom, we have to take a picture all together and you need to make it your screensaver. Because I have that like cute cartoon of them when they're babies on my phone. And he's like, Mom, it needs to be all three of us. And
Hey, how about me?
Yeah, okay. Anyway. And then this morning, we were all doing our photo shoot, and Seven I was having a tantrum and wouldn't join us. So Leaky and I have a multitude of cute photos together. We're just like posing, doing our thing, and Seven Eyes in the background like, I'm not taking pictures with you. And then the best part was tonight I was going through Leaky and I's photos, and I was like, oh, these are great. And Seven was like, Mom, I don't even like these. They're not good.
Oh
and I was
my
like,
gosh,
whoa,
so much
haters
attitude.
gonna hate. And he's like, yeah, I'm not there. It's not good. And I was like, doesn't matter. I'm posting it. And he's like, it's not good. I don't like it. I was like, all right, well.
Hater.
Hater.
Little hater.
4? What a hater.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah. He's at least he's honest. So, you know where you stand. Alrighty?
Are you ready?
All right, level 3. Ooh, level 3. I don't know if we've played.
Can you explain the
level
game to everybody?
3. Okay, so John was scrolling on the internet one night.
It's true. No, I followed these guys on Instagram for a long time.
He liked their marketing, and then he took a deep dive, and he was like, this is a cool game, and we need to talk more outside of work. So we bought a game that is a relationship card game. There's other categories like friendship and whatever, but this one is about relationships. I don't know. Oh, level 3 is reflection.
Yep.
So go ahead. Ask away.
If you could prescribe our relationship one thing, what
Wait,
would
if I could what?
prescribe?
Prescribe.
If you
Okay.
could prescribe our relationship one thing, what would it be and why?
More fun.
Huh.
I feel like me and you don't have a lot of fun in the sense no, we don't. We do a lot of work. Which is like fun on like a level like 4 out of 10. Like I like work. I enjoy work. But it's not like fun. Yeah.
One thing you could prescribe a relationship. I would prescribe us 2 things. More.
Oh my gosh.
What? 2 things to start, and then probably like 3 things on the back end.
Oh, okay.
Like as a result of those 2 things.
Doctor,
just kidding.
doctor, please.
I think I would prescribe us 500 milligrams of.
Oh my god. Spit it out.
That's kidding. Probably more like time together, like spent reading the Bible.
Oh, okay.
We did a bit last week.
Mm-hmm.
That was nice. But we don't do it enough.
No.
I want to do that more. Guys, sorry, I have something in my eye. Oh my goodness. Itchy eye.
Okay, itch your eye and keep talking. You'll be fine.
And then I would prescribe us more time away together. Just me and you.
Oh, me too.
Because I find that I get the most clear thoughts when we're just like kicking back.
Yeah.
And before we had help with the kids every once in a while, and now we haven't for like a year now almost.
Yeah.
And so like that's normal. Like that's every day. It's just like when you're building a business and you got to be a visionary. It's hard to be like in the weeds of the day to day all the time, and then like to like zoom out to like 1,000 miles away to like see the bigger problems. You just see like this. You think you're seeing all the problems, and like what I've noticed, like when I go away, I'm just like, oh, well, that's a perfect solution to that problem. This is how we should do that. We're actually like just like fixing the symptoms. We're not actually fixing like what the problem actually is. And so yeah. I would say, like, sounds weird, but like, I would prescribe us more time away so that we could
have more fun.
No, it's not really where I was going with that, but I put words in my mouth so that we would be better and more effective parents and leaders.
See,
yeah,
John's still thinking business.
Oh my gosh! No,
girls just wanna have fun.
No.
You ever heard that song?
I want to have fun too. I want to go spearfishing.
Yeah.
I want to go camping. Let's go find a remote island.
Yeah, I'm okay with that kind of camping. I don't want to go any more into the bush.
Yeah.
Okay?
This is not the bush.
This is the bush, baby. It's bush that has been weed whacked slightly. And yet in the morning when I wake up and the pigs are snorting outside my window, my dog's trying to jugular them, and the rats are running the roof. This is the bush, baby. That's bush enough for me. Give me the bears and the mountain lions. I am a little bit more comfortable.
Wow. Wow.
It's true.
Well, guys, thank you for joining us. This was episode number 20 of the Walker Family Podcast. We appreciate you guys very, very much. First time filming. Welcome to the set. It was brought to you by Fresh Tea and Coffee. And
Enjoy
we'll catch you
the
guys
blue.
next time.